driven across Ireland's roads every day on large, heavy trucks.
They're dangerous and dirty, and there seems to be more of them every day. But there is a better way.
Before cars took over, trains were the single biggest form of transport in Ireland, and there were rail lines everywhere. Over the years, freight moved from rail onto the roads. But there is good news. The construction of a new rail link in Dublin port has brought rail freight back to life. Howard Knott of the Irish Exporters Association sees the potential of a new approach to rail transport.
Howard, over 99% of our freight is delivered by truck on the roads. Is that the only way?
No, Duncan, it isn't. I mean, if you think back 20, 25 years ago, the huge volumes of freight that was moved by rail. Ireland was, in fact, the pioneer where you had container trains running from Waterford to literally all corners of Ireland overnight. And it was a marvellously efficient system. It was let die for a number of reasons.
So how low did our rail freight go?
It went to about 0.3% of the total freight being moved. So an absolutely tiny percentage. What you see behind you here, Duncan, at the moment is a container train being loaded for Ballina. These will be loaded in Ballina with cargo, brought back to Dublin, put aboard a ship and sent to Europe.
How many trucks does it take off the road?
It can take anything up to 36 trucks, depending on the configuration of the train. So if you have 5 trains a week, as you presently have running between here and Ballina, that's a very substantial number of trucks.
So there's obviously big benefits now in reducing all this rail freight off the road. But what's the benefit for now the big exporting companies in Ireland?
Obviously they have to compete on price, which is very important. They have to compete on the quality of the product. But companies are having to show their green credentials. The low carbon footprint is very important in the boardroom of the major multinational manufacturers. So if you can use rail freight, which is 5 times more carbon efficient than road, you're beginning to move in the right direction.
So if you take other ports like Tralee or, say, Athenry in the west, could these be developed the same way now as Ballina?
There's absolutely no practical reason why they couldn't. I think crucially important is that there has always been a situation in Ireland that rail freight has not been subsidised. It has been purely standing on its own feet and has indeed in the last number of years made a profit for Irish Rail. Every mode of transport has to pay its full costs, and whether it's a ship, whether it's a train, whether it's a truck, because it'll no longer be a viable operation to load a truck somewhere in Ireland, run it across Britain to deliver into Holland. It'll become far too expensive. Much better to load it somewhere in Ireland, put it on a train, run it to a port. It's green in a certain way, but it's also going to be more practical and more economical.
And if you take, say, road freight, is that being subsidised?
You could argue that, Duncan, when you look at the investment that's been made in the roads, which are the new motorways and all of that, and you say, well, yes, there are tolls on them, but do the tolls cover the full cost? I think European policy and European wisdom says no, they don't cover the full cost. We have seen tremendous improvement over the last few years. We have a rail network that's been there for the best part of 200 years. It's very good. It's quite extensive by European standards. The issue now is to make the best use of that network and to ensure that nothing is done that would make it less effective in years to come.
Colin Dunn's company, iwt, were the prime movers in breathing new life into the rail freight business in Ireland. Spotting an opportunity, they raised funding and took a bold commercial risk.
Colin, why did you get into the rail freight business here in Ireland?
There was a lot of rail track that wasn't being used for rail freight at all. We saw the rail as an opportunity to move freight from one side of the country to the other, and we saw that there was a competitive advantage to the customers, importers and exporters. This is an island, we're surrounded by water, we have to be very competitive. We have to find ways to get on and off this island as competitively as possible. We charter the trains from Irish Rail. We pay a fixed fee for the locomotives and the wagons, and then we sell the space to everybody in the market.
Colin's gamble has paid off for his company, for the rail network and for the environment, taking dozens of trucks off the road every week. That's the kind of smart thinking and public-private partnership we need to guarantee that our transport system is ready for a future less dependent on oil.
In Ireland, almost